Now, after you initially start the fight, there's going to be a bunch of variables where the cinderlings will start spawning. Those X's just represent variable places where they can spawn pretty much anywhere on the edges and the outskirts of the platform. The black circle there just represents where the cinderweb drones could potentially spawn. And the last thing is the spawn points for the cinderweb spinners. They could really be anywhere on top of the web. Usually they're roughly above the raid in the center area somewhere, but they really can spawn anywhere. Now, to explain this fight, there's a lot of variables and random shit that I can't really explain. That being the case, I'm just going to go ahead and try the best to explain it with the RNG factoring in. This is just the spawn point of the intro drone. He could, again, spawn anywhere, really, but let's just say he spawns there. Again, kind of impossible to explain it thoroughly because RNG and variables, but again, the black X is going to be the drone, and the pink X is going to be the little cinderweb spiderlings. Suggesting that those are the spawn points. What's going to happen is the main tank is going to hop over, taunt over the drone, and going to start kiting the drone away from the cinderweb spiderlings. They, of course, are going to beeline right for the drone because they want to get to him to give him his lust and whatnot. So main tank is going to pick up the drone, start kiting as quickly as possible, within reason, of course, and he is, of course, going to be facing the drone away from the raid as he kites, which is why they have the central position. He's going to kite them in pretty much a circular motion or rotation around the raid group. Now, this is where it may get a little complicated, but I'll do my best to explain it here. You'll see that the blue dot, meaning the main tank, has the black arrow going to the bottom right kind of angle. That's just the kiting path that theoretically, if these were the spawn points, he would be taking. Again, keep in mind he's going to be kiting them as far as he can away from the spiderlings, but of course facing him away from everyone. Melee is not going to be on the spiderlings, they're going to be on the drone, which is why they have arrows pointing at the X, which represents the drone. The reason, again, is because the spiderlings shoot this little acid fire venom shit with anyone within 5 yards of them. Range is actually going to be handling the spiderlings in the intro. AoE them down, slow effect, and melee just beat the living fuck out of the drone. And if the off tank wants to help out in the intro to the fight, he can. It's not really necessary. Really what he should do is just DPS from behind him. If you have a bear, have him go cat or, something like that. But, yeah, you don't really want two people kiting him and switching taunts because that's two people that are going to take the 63k cone AoE. Again, melee on the drone, tank kiting him, range slow affecting, and DPSing the spiderlings. Again, it looks kind of hectic with all the arrows going back and forth, but I'll explain it again. The main tank is still kiting the drone, melee is still DPSing the drone, and range is still slow affecting the spiderlings and DPSing them. However, what's going to happen is the spinners are going to become active at some point, and what happens is you can either DPS kill them down to make them fall down, or you can taunt them down. So if you have a off tank, which you obviously should, he should taunt one of them, and if you have, say, a hunter who can distract shot the other one, that'll work as well, and they will both drop to the ground. What's going to happen is, if possible, the main tank will pick them up. If not, the melee will just nuke them to shit. They really don't have that much health. I would say the main tank pick them up and just pop cooldowns, big heals on them. And so after they drop down, when you're killing them, their strings are going to fall to the ground too, and they will become right clickable, in the sense that you can mount them and you'll hop on them, and I'll explain that in the next frame. This frame shows again main tank, blue dot. He is still kiting the drone again in a circular motion around the room. It doesn't matter if it's clockwise or counterclockwise, just a damn circle, doesn't really matter. Melee is still on the drone, and range is still slow affecting and DPSing the spiderlings. If they have any leftover time to DPS the drone, that is very important and nice to do. What's going to happen is the off tank, being the pink circle, he is going to click one of those strings and hop up to the top of the web, and he also has to have a healer accompany him on the intro to this, and they have to go up at relatively the same time, because he'll just die. And of course a healer can't go up there alone, because they'll just die. And usually you can only have 2 people at a time hop up these things, because only so many spinners spawn at a given time. So healer and tank are first priority, and they should go up at relatively the same time. Again, if in the occasion that the spinners are still alive and running around, main tank, do your best to pick them up. If the main tank hasn't picked them up, just nuke them to shit. Maybe the melee can pick them up, and go bear form, go blood presence, pop DPS, defensive cooldowns. Again, tank is still kiting them, but suggesting that you have killed the drone. A new one is probably going to be spawning pretty quickly, and you see the arrow. Again, theoretical, it's RNG variable, where not only the drone but the spiderlings will spawn. But I can't predict that, so I just drew it up like this. Blue arrow, blue blob with the arrow going to the X, which represents the drone. So the main tank, who is on the ground, he's going to hop over and grab the drone. Again, the pink X, you see the arrow going to the black X. That means that the spiderlings are going to be running to the drone. Tank's going to pick up the drone and start kiting them. At the same time, the range is going to be spreading out their DPS and their slow effects on the spiderlings. They, of course, are priority over the drone. Anything left over for DPS is going to be on the drone. Again, depending on what CC and slow effects you got, just slow effects, you don't want to CC them. Depends on how you're spreading out your DPS. You'll also see the melee on the below. And they are DPSing and or taunting down the spinners. Range also, I did not draw an arrow, but range can also help them out. Again, you have to taunt them down. If you have any sort of melee DPS taunts, if you're a cat, go bear and taunt once, stuff like that. Distract shot, maybe one of the hunters can help you out. They'll hop down. Main tank, if possible, pick them up. If not, range will burn them to shit. What happens is once they do drop down, melee are going to hop up on the strings. This one shows again that the tank and healer are still up top. Melee, as you can see with their arrows pointing to the spinners, strings, are going to be mounting them, hopping up, and joining them on top of the web. The reason we have melee up there is you want 1 to 2 DPS up there, because the below action is so range oriented that you might as well just throw your melee on the easy shit and have your range do their thing on the below web slow effect stuff. So the melee are going to hop up on those strings once the spinners are down, and they're going to join the top of the web and start DPSing Beth'tilac with the healer and the tank. The main tank, the blue one, is going to again keep kiting the drone. The spiderlings, same thing, are going to be going towards the drone, trying to give them that mini lust. And range again are going to be spreading out their DPS and slow affecting.